Welcome to the VA Today pod and videocast with your host, Gail Alexander, a podcast about VAs, for VAs, and businesses looking for the right VA to help to start grow their business. Find the right VA today and visit VA Today on YouTube and ava-ni.com to find out more about VAs and what they can do for you, and get in touch with the virtual assistants you need today.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the VA Today with me, Gail Alexander. And today I'm joined with Elizabeth Wright of Admin and More, based in Northampton, England. And I'm really happy to speak to you today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And just before we joined the call, we had a few technical issues. So don't be surprised if more technical issues happen. But that's just the nature of freelancing and working from home, but we get through it. So
I think the weather is playing a key factor today.
Yes, we had a little bit of a gust yesterday here with Storm Alley. There was branches and trees down everywhere. So yes, I can understand that. So
we are very wet here today in England. So
the weather's just the autumnal equinox. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought we'd start off with talking a bit about how you became a virtual assistant and sort of why you've been doing it for a few years.
Okay. Well, the reason I became a virtual assistant was I've been a virtual assistant now for just over 2 years. I worked in the charity sector for 15 years. I was a community fundraiser. So my role was to organise events, look after people who were fundraising in their own community. And after 15 years, I realised I was getting to a burnout stage, but wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. So someone suggested to me about being a virtual assistant, because in the charity sector, you don't have huge budgets. So you do have to learn everything yourself, from fixing computers, doing your own administration. And so over that summer, in the June 2016, over the summer and the 6 months, set the business up, put our brand together, put our marketing together. And then I left work at Christmas, and then from January 2017 I've been working on the business full time, and I love every minute of it. It's hard work, but I really love every minute of it.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing with VAs. They do find, they're juggling work, fitting it around their schedules, their home life and whatever, but they really, because it's their own business, they're working for themselves. They love doing it, and I know I'm the same. I'll be hours here, there and everywhere, but you do really enjoy it. And obviously you're very good at it, because I think one of the quotes that somebody's given for you says your knowledge of the VA business is amazing, and you deliver exactly what your client needs, exactly when you need it. So you couldn't have any better ringing endorsements.
Yeah, no, I love working with all the clients that I work with. And one of the things I have an ethos of as a virtual assistant is that if I'm working with a client, my whole aim is to help their business grow. And we talk about that in the initial stages when we're talking about the different tasks that can be done. And it is about freeing up someone else's time and having what they can do. So it's making the client think, well, what can they do if they're freed up some of their time? And will that help? Well, some of the times people want actually just some time to spend with their family. So if we can help them do that, then it's a win-win. And that's my whole ethos when I start working with a client.
Yeah. So when you find clients, and we'll talk about finding clients later, what do you actually do? You were saying you sit down and you find what they need. Is it a case that they come to you looking for something specific and you talk through their business and find that there's lots of things that they need? Or how do you approach working with clients?
I think when you first set up your business, I think there's a tendency to say, yes, you'll do that. Yeah, the client wants that. So then you do that. And you do have to do that, like when you set up a business. But I think the biggest lesson I've learned in the last year is and that's when it doesn't work with clients. I think when you get approached by a client who says, well, I know I need some help, but I don't know what I need doing. I think then that's when problems do arise.
Okay.
And what I've done now, I've implemented a task list that I email to a prospective client. So what we do is I email that to them, and then they tick off the tasks that they need doing, and from that we formulate a plan, and that works so much more better and creates a better working relationship, definitely. Yeah. So because working with a client, you have to plan it. You can't just say, because that's when, unfortunately, issues do arise.
I think it specifically works better. A virtual assistant, well, they can work on strategy, but more often than not, they're working off tasks that a business needs done, and they need done well and immediately. And that's generally what a virtual assistant is trained in. You know, they have the skills and the experience and the know-how to do specific tasks. So when you say that you email a task list to them, that's actually a really good tip for virtual assistants to do. Otherwise, you could be sitting there doing nothing or wondering what to do, and it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of the client's time and money. So I think it's a really good thing for both sides of the business that, you know, even the business can sit down and look at, here's a task that I need done, I just don't have the time, so I can give that to a VA or vice versa. I think it's a really good sort of practice to do.
And I think one of the other things that we do, and that's where we've picked up then longer term clients, is we do say that we will do ad hoc stuff.
Yeah.
So I know as a VA you get taught to offer packages, and that's absolutely the right thing, because obviously you've got a living to earn and you need to know what money's coming in, and I absolutely get that. But we do offer the ad hoc service as well, because we find by offering the ad hoc service, and then they use you for like several small tasks, that actually goes on to be some then signed up onto one of our monthly packages. And so that works really well too.
Yeah, so that's quite a good thing, is you're talking about like a retainer type package or a regular occurring project monthly. And so that's a good way to at least keep some idea of, you know, work on a monthly basis. So it's, I think, sort of a more calming thing for a VA, knowing, okay, I have work this month, and a better easily to schedule around. Makes it easier to schedule around your life and your work as well. Also, I think from that is when you offer those services, the business goes, oh, this person's so good, they did this for me as well. And it means they'll use you more and refer you more as well. So being able to offer that, I think, is a great thing. So how do you specifically go about finding clients for you? Or do you wait till clients come to you? Or do you, I would say, cherry pick them? Or how do you go out trying to find the right client and bringing them to you?
So I would say, and this is probably where I've made mistakes in the past, but now sort of honed it down. So obviously when I first set the business up, I took anyone who came over the threshold, who came and knocked on my door, because I wanted to help. They mainly working. So so from the January probably to the September, I was full on networking. I was going to different networking groups. I was, you know, doing as much as I can, doing lots of one-to-ones and really, really getting to know people. And that helped build the business. And then in September, we got incredibly busy. And so I had to cut down the networking. But then one of the other things that I offer, and this is the side of the business that I love, is we offer basic training courses to people.
Yes.
So, and from that, I get quite a lot of business from that, because people do come on the course and think, oh, I really wanted to do this on myself, but actually I realised this is going to take too much time. And then they come onto one of the packages and stuff. So training and networking are my biggest sources of clients. I know I probably haven't utilised social media the way it should be. I get the odd client from there, but and I know that's one of the areas that I need to look at going forward. But at the moment, the biggest areas is my networking and the training that I offer.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of virtual assistants do. To use social media to get sort of their brand out there, to get them more visible. But when it actually comes to getting clients, it is the virtual kind of disappears. It's nearly meeting people. And then from that, it's word of mouth. It tends to be the best way. But the use of social media is just really for getting across your personal brand and your voice and your authority, really. And I know that you do publish quite a few articles on LinkedIn. So you talked about how to keep your customers happy, the use of CRM, email management, and QuickBooks, which is something I would maybe talk to you about, how to use QuickBooks. So even though you maybe don't see a direct client coming towards them, putting out those articles, making your voice heard sort of makes you an authoritative voice. So it's still worthwhile doing, despite the fact you maybe don't see, or you don't think you see the same return. But it is something that you offer.
It's about building trust as well. If you're visible out there, so we do blog regularly and we post to social media, but it's about building that trust, and then people can actually see that you are good at what you do, that you've got the knowledge, that you're able to help someone when they approach you. So for example, QuickBooks, I'm QuickBooks certified, and people come to me and they ask me a couple of questions around QuickBooks, and I'm happy to answer them. I'm not going to, just because they're not paying. And I think you do need to be a bit, not giving away all your knowledge, but I think also you need to show that you have the knowledge and that you initially are happy to help people. And I think that goes a long way in building the trust.
Yeah. So I think you're right. It's like giving a little bit away of what you know does draw your client or your potential customers and clients back towards you, because it is about trust, especially because it's a virtual world. People want to know who the person is, and it's very hard to find that out through a phone or an email. So another reason why I'm doing this video series, but it's getting that trust. And so to be able to give a little bit of advice first, then people go, okay, that's the person I want to talk to, and then they'll come back to you. So I think it is another good point, that the way you can build trust and way you can give of yourself sometimes reaps more rewards than giving it, the cost that it costs you, really. I'm bumbling my words today, so sorry. So you were talking about your experience that you have worked in quite diverse backgrounds. You have worked in banking, but you were talking about fundraising, and I can see that you've done fundraising and worked with quite a few different charities, like Marie Curie, the Kidney Research and Spinal Injuries Association. So do you find that working for different sort of sectors, so like the difference between public, private and not-for-profit, do you find there's a difference in the way work's done? Obviously, you're saying in the charity sector, there's not as much budget, but is there a different way or different way to do things within the different sectors?
Yeah, I think the biggest factor for me, and this happens in my own business and the small businesses that I find against the charitable sector, is decision making. Decision making is so much slower, unfortunately, in the charity sector. And well, not unfortunately, that's about budgets, and obviously charities have got to be very careful where they spend money because it's donors' money, and I get that. I think though, especially probably the smaller to medium-sized charities, if they had a better decision-making process, then I think, that would help, because being able, unfortunately now, we live in a really modern world that's really fast-paced. Yeah. And you do have to have the ability to make fast decisions. I'm not saying like 24 hours, you do actually have the option to think about it. But I would say in the charity sector, things would take months to decide whether that would go ahead. Whereas in a small business, you have the opportunity to turn something around quite quickly if you want to make that decision. And I think that's where a small business and that does have an advantage, because you can make things happen a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting point. It's like for VA working, well, specifically if you're a VA working in any of those industries, it's to remember those time frames, and that you may have worked in one sector, it may be very different to working in another sector, and just try not to get frustrated. It's just the way things are done. And I guess that comes into play when you work with different clients globally as well, you know, different cultures and have different ways of doing things. So that's quite similar. So it's just to take exactly what the client needs when they need it, but in their time frame as well. And so with the work that you do now, you do like freelance virtual PA, social media, CRM. Do you have a set way to do things? Do you have a set schedule? In other words, how do you manage your working day as a virtual assistant? You know, working from home can be quite difficult for some people. Is the sound gone?
You the sound, you totally broke up as you asked that next question.
Right, okay. So yeah, I was just basically asking about how do you manage your virtual assistant working day? Is there any particular way you do it?
I mean, I work around my inbox. I mean, my Outlook inbox is absolutely key to me, because from what comes in overnight dictates what I'm going to be doing today. So, for example, this morning I've already been networking. I've had a video call. I've just taken on a new associate who's doing some work for me. And I have a work experience, Ben working with me today. So, you know, time needs to be set aside for him, but everything else then revolves around my Outlook. However, I was introduced to two great new apps yesterday. I might have heard of them, but I'd never really used them, Evernote and Slack. And that is already working so much better to integrate. I do have a team of associate VAs that help me out when I'm a bit overwhelmed. And so this morning also, just before the call actually, I've been working with the new associate and getting work to her. And now she's up and running and working well already within an hour of it all being set up, because we could share the screen so she could see what she needs to do. And so I think that's one of the areas I need probably to hone up at. And I think you get so focused on your day-to-day work. I used to be up on the latest apps and all that were coming out, but you do get focused on your work. And I think you lose that a little bit until you maybe a client or one-to-one that you have say, well, have you tried this? And someone, like, as I said, sat down with me yesterday and showed me Evernote and Slack. And I've been looking for a good reminder tool to help me do bits and pieces and go from there. So it's really good. And that's one of the things I need to do, is probably upskill my knowledge to see that I'm being most effective around how I manage my day. But I obviously have 5 regular retainer clients. And their work gets sorted first, and then any ad hoc work gets sorted after that. So, and that works really, really well. And I'm lucky with my retainer clients. They want stuff done on a set day. So that's set aside first, and then we move on to the other stuff. What I'm probably not very good at is actually working on my own business. And so that normally comes at night.
I think that's a common theme. It's like, yes, you do your social media or your blogs for everyone else, and then when it comes to yours, it's like, okay, right, not quite as good. But I think that's everyone's kind of problem, and that's where maybe an associate VA helps as well. It's like they can do the business.
Yeah, definitely.
So you were talking about that you have associates, obviously, like because of the amount of work you have and you're so successful at it, you've had to hire associates. How do you actually go about getting the right associate for you? How did you pick? I've been very, very lucky. And when I reached out to people in some of the VA groups on Facebook, I have got
some brilliant VAs. I have 3 VAs now that work for me. Originally, we did offer a telephone answering service, but that did really take over the business, and it wasn't the most profitable way of earning money for the business. So I now have 3 associate VAs. I have one in South Africa, Sharon, she's lovely. I have a lady up in the north, and I've just taken on one locally now, so she can always come in on site if I need her to do some admin. And what I find the biggest, I suppose, lesson I've learned about working with another VA is don't take someone on if you've got a massive project, because you don't know that VA. What I've done with my VAs is been very task allocated, but from that, Sharon, who's in South Africa, she does a great job on my social media now, and that's come over time after she's done some tasks for me, and I've learned it's that trust thing, and it's learning to trust someone. And now she does it. She doesn't have to check it with me because I trust her, and I know that she knows my brand, and she just gets it out there, and it gets great feedback. Same with Lindsay in the north. She's great. She helps with the bookkeeping side of things for some of my, like me and my clients. And I know that the work gets done, and it's just about, again, it's just trust. And I've had a couple of bad experiences, but you just have to learn to cut that off really quickly, because you wouldn't want to have an effect on your business. Although the only thing I do is I never, this might sound awful, but I don't let the VAs interact with my clients. I do all of that. So all the work comes back through me for checking before it goes out to the client.
Well, I think that kind of makes sense, because they're dealing with you and your business and your brand is really you, and they're sort of auxiliary type staff, support staff. So I think that's understandable. So you said you got you hired them through Facebook groups. So were they recommended to you, or did you actually do research on them, or did you just put a feeler out and say, look, I'm looking for associates? What way did you do it?
I just put a feeler out. I interviewed them over Skype, got a feeling from it. And as I say, I try it with one small task, see how it goes, and we go from there. Yeah. I never did a formal interview. It was more like getting to know people, and to see if they sort of fitted in, I suppose, with my personality, and did they have the passion? Did they have the enthusiasm? And I think that's always a good start.
Yeah.
And now, as I say, I feel I'm incredibly lucky now to have a good team of 3 people that I can rely on if I need any help.
Yeah. So again, I think we keep coming back to this point of trust, and it's not just, the level of trust between yourself and your client, but yourself and your associates. Trust is one of the main things, and you need to be able to see if that sort of person that you can work with has the same ethos as you, has the same or personality that clicks with you as well, because you want people to be able to enjoy their work as well, and you yourself. So I think, and again, this is kind of another reason for the videos, is it's finding that client as well as an associate to see if your personality fits in with the business. I think is a really important thing to do, and you can always say no.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and you don't, I'm not being funny, if obviously the way the contract works, you don't, I sign my contracts, I'm not guaranteeing anyone work, and I suppose if it doesn't work out, then you don't have to offer them like any more work, and that's how it can work as well. So I definitely don't guarantee my VAs any amount of hours or whatever. How I work with the VA is, if I've got a task, I will always tell them how many hours there is on that task. And I think, unfortunately, that is one of the issues as well when you're working with another VA. I've had instances where I've told VAs how many hours that a task is, but they go over, and then they charge you a big bill, and then you go back to them and say, but I only said these amount of hours. And so these are some of the things that I've learned. So again, like, I work with VAs who know that that's the instructions, and they don't go over that. They check with me if they need any more time. And it's just those simple things that can change a whole relationship, really.
Yeah. I think, and then that you would get that with a client as well. It's being perfectly clear and getting that clarity about what the hours are, or what the project scope is, or what they expect to be delivered, and any sort of backup plans in case anything was to go wrong or something. So that's something to think about at the start of any contract or any project, to make those points clear, because you do want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, so that there's no breakdown of communication and then trust, I guess. So you saying that you've VAs working for you, and one's in South Africa, and one's in the north, and one's local.
Yeah.
Do you? But though you do work at home on your own. Do you ever feel isolated, and how do you manage? Or do you work in a shared office on the odd occasion?
No, in June, because of the way the business has grown, I am now in my own offices. So I'm talking to you today from our office here in Islip. I've got 2 offices within one, because I can use this office as a training venue now for our training courses. I'm lucky now because I obviously offer a couple of training courses a week, so I have interactions with people there. I have a wonderful work experience called Ben, who's actually sitting next to me as we speak. He comes in on a Thursday, so I have interaction with a work experience person. But other times I think I'm so busy that I'm just at my desk, nose down on with the keyboard, and away I go. Yeah. So and I think because I go networking, that helps with the loneliness. So I'm lucky, and I am looking at the moment probably to bring someone in-house. I'm a bit anxious about that, because I hear horror stories of bringing on employees and the problems and issues that they can bring. So again, I'm just going to tread carefully on that and see what happens.
Yeah. So I think the point there is, excuse me, sorry, I could feel it coming and I couldn't stop it. Oh dear. So I think the thing to manage is, because you are a virtual assistant, you need to need to get out there networking, one for your business, but also for yourself as well. So, you do have that interaction with other people, and so you don't feel that isolation. But as you say, you're lucky enough, and your business has grown so much that you have your own offices and you're bringing on work experience. And I think that's an amazing thing, because that also shows the world out there that virtual assistant is a job opportunity. It is a viable working option, because I know that when I became a virtual assistant, that was the first time I'd really heard of it. And so how would you actually explain, if anyone was to ask you, what do you do? What is a virtual assistant? How would you actually explain it?
I say that I provide administration services to small and medium-sized businesses. We don't do it on site. We do it away from the site, and that's where the virtual bit comes in. But for me, a virtual assistant is all about how you can help a client free up their time. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, because if you're freeing up someone's time, it could either, as I said earlier, be to spend with their family, or it will let that person grow their business. And that's the thing, especially if the reason is for growing a business. When you use a VA should be there to help you enable to grow the business by taking some of those tasks, so you can free up 2 to 3 hours in a day, or and that will really help you grow your business. So yes, it's a cost, but if it's done right, and I've seen it with some of the clients that I've worked with, they've grown, and it's fantastic to see. And I think sometimes you've got to look at it, and I find a virtual assistant, again, because we're like self-employed, it's a bridge, it's a stopgap. There are, so my favourite clients are companies or businesses that have been probably established 1 to 2 years, so they're starting to grow. They're in that transition period between taking on an employee, but they need that extra help. And they're the businesses that I really see grow and help. And I can go in and help that. And I know that that's a transition stage. So I know that it won't last forever, But if you can be in there and help them, when they need to grow again, they'll come back to you.
Yeah, I think that's right, because a lot of businesses, it's hard for them to maybe make that jump between them being entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and then hiring on staff, but yet there's so much work to do that in the interim they kind of need that extra help, but not on a full-time basis. And that's where a VA comes into their own. They're perfect. And as you say, if there's any other jobs that, because virtual assistants offer quite a lot of different skills, that those VAs can come back and help them, and as you say, grow the business. And that is a lovely side of the sort of business that we do. We're helping other people grow and build their businesses.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was going to ask, is there any specific skills or any specific training that you think a VA should do or take before becoming a VA or while they're a VA? Like, I mean, is there any specific VA training or just general training or just any skills that would be very beneficial, basically?
I think when I speak to other VAs, they're being a VA because they have a specific skill that they want to, as I say, have the opportunity to become self-employed, be more flexible. I would say the biggest training that you should have is about setting up a business.
Yeah.
Because it's a minefield. And I would say setting up my business, not having a one-stop shop to go to. Now, I know that there are local organisations out there, but I don't know, I think there's a gap there, really. And I think that's what you should seek out. I think you should be fully aware of what you're taking on when you go self-employed, because you need to prepare that. And I think before you jump into being a virtual assistant, again, test your idea. Like, see if people want your services, that, because you know, there's a lot of people coming in to do social media. It could be blogging, it could be, you know, loads of different types of things. See if the market wants it, because otherwise, especially like if you're employed, you could give up a very good job, and it can be really tough and frightening coming out. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me coming out. I was getting a pay, like, obviously I was getting my salary every month, and then you go and you have nothing. You literally come out the door and like, oh, I don't know when I'm going to get paid again. Yeah. So I think, and all that planning, if you can plan, go on training courses that help you to plan your sales, your budgeting, your cash flow. That will help you immensely, because that will help you focus on where you need to go to get your business. And I think that's the training that a virtual assistant needs, because you're probably skilled in what you're doing, and that's probably why you're coming into the virtual assistant marketplace. But test your product to see if there's a demand for it, and hone up what it is to run a business. Yeah,
I think there's, and I know from my own experience, it was realizing what insurance you needed, where you needed to be registered, like ICO and with the tax office, and all those things that really need to be done and need to be done quite soon as you set up. So knowing that, so that you don't have problems down the line, I think is one of the best things that a VA can do to help set up their business and set it up properly. And then all the other kind of skills, anything that you want to skill up, you can do as and when. But the business, setting up a business, I think is, yeah, I think you're very right there, that it's possibly one of the first things that you should do. And I think a lot of VAs have done it in the fact that they've started doing it part-time in the evening, and then they've eased and transitioned into doing it full-time once they've set it up, once they know what they're doing, and then they've sort of taken the plunge.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest lessons is that when you've done all that research and background and planning, then if you are employed, in order to make your business grow, and you know that there's demand out there, is set a date when you're going to leave employment, because you can't do the both really, unless depending if you're part-time, but especially if you're full-time. If you can see, if you're starting to make money at what you're doing, then if you really want to grow that side, then make a decision to leave work. And that's scary. That is absolutely scary, but that's what happened in the end to me. We made the date, and since I've left, we've grown the business. And because you do have to concentrate on it and to do it.
Yeah, I think that's right. You just look at it as a transitional period when you're doing both. But then when you set that date, that sort of big red mark in the calendar, it's specific, a goal to work for, and you concentrate more on it. And it's not as scary taking the plunge. Mine was slightly different the way I became a VA, but another story. So are there any sort of final pieces of advice that you would have for even an experienced virtual assistant, or just in general for prospective VAs? Is there any particular piece of advice or tool that you think?
Okay, so the biggest lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, you're back again.
Okay, so the biggest lessons I've learned, and to impart on to another virtual assistant, always be upfront about your payment terms, get that clarified, get people to sign contracts. Unfortunately, I did suffer a bad debt last year, but I had all my contracts signed and that. Yes, unfortunately, in the end, I did, for my own peace of mind, you had to let it go. But having all that stuff in place helped me take the case further than I ever hoped to do. Keep marketing. So I got extremely busy at the beginning of the year with GDPR because I was offering a GDPR service. So I took my eye off the ball marketing. So when the hot weather hit here in the UK, for example, for 6 weeks when we had the World Cup, my ad hoc jobs sort of did dry up overnight. Not my monthly clients, we had them, but the ad hoc stuff did dry up, and that was because I'd stopped marketing, so I didn't have that follow through all the time. So keep marketing, even when you're feeling so overwhelmed with clients, if you're getting really busy. My message: keep social media and keep blogging, keep putting things out on LinkedIn, and just keep your message going out there, because that will help the flow through. Keep networking, and that will help. That'll help hopefully even off the workload through, so you don't have to worry so much about cash flow. And the biggest thing is enjoy it. It's really tough in that first year, especially when you're setting up. It's worrying, but make sure you enjoy it, because that's why you're doing it. And I'll probably say I'm now enjoying it properly in my second year, because we're more established and there doesn't have to be so much to worry about, but just enjoy it, because if you enjoy it, that will come across to your clients.
Yeah, and I think your passion comes across as well when you're enjoying it more, and that's what your clients want as well. And if you have any queries or questions or major nightmares, there's all the social networks that you can ask for advice on as well.
Yeah. So that would be really good. So that's my biggest advice, but just keep enjoying it, because it is a good profession to be in, and they are predicting a huge increase in people coming away from the workplace to start their own businesses. So there's an absolute opportunity for what we do to offer people. So it's a growing industry, and there's so many things people need doing. So it's a good industry to be in.
Yeah, I think if you're either a generalist or a niche specialist in a piece of software, I think, as you say, there definitely is a growing opportunity to set up yourself and be flexible about where you work. So I think, and lastly, overall, where do you see, or where do you hope to see the business in, say, 5 years' time? Sort of big question I ask everyone. Where are you hoping to go?
I'm hoping to replicate what I have here in Northamptonshire down into Milton Keynes. So open a second office down there to offer the services. But in the end, my dream would be actually to have a hub. So a hub where it's a one-stop shop really, that people can come to get their website, social media, accountancy, all in one place. So you don't have to track down tons and tons of people. You can come to a one-stop shop and you would be able to get all those services in one place, because that takes time as well, trying to find all the right suppliers. So I think that's my ultimate dream. I think we could achieve that, because people's time is getting more and more precious. And I think if you had that one-stop entity, then that would help businesses enormously. So that's my ultimate dream. But in the next couple of years, we're looking to replicate what I have here in Northamptonshire down into Milton Keynes, and where we'll go from there.
Yeah. So in other words, world domination is on the cards.
Yeah, someone says that to me. Oh, we're going for the world. I know.
Start small first. We'll start with England first. Yeah. Well, no, thank you very much for talking to me today. I still can't speak. Oh dear. That's the first thing I need to do today, is learn how to talk. But yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. And you're obviously very busy and need to go and give your work experience person some work to do. And this isn't a normal day, but it's a pleasure to speak to you. And thank you very much.
No, thank you for your invitation. I love talking about what I do. So if it helps anyone else, I'm always happy to chat to people who are thinking of setting up in their business or give help and advice. I'm happy to do that, because I want you to get the best out of what you can do. So I'm happy to talk to anyone else.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because I think that's what all VAs want as well. So it's a real pleasure to talk to all different VAs. So I have really enjoyed talking to you today, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, and have a good day.
You too, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.